And as soon as I can figure it out that I'm broadcasting, that'll be great. Yeah. Hold on for a second.
Mataji, while you are posting, then so I have a question, small one, like TUM. We always pronounce it tum or tum. TUM.
Ooh. Ooh. U is ooh.
Ooh, yes. Tum.
It is thumb in English.
Yeah.
Dictum, right? Like that, right? Tummy, tums. But that's English. U is a oo, and a is a. So if you have to say thumb, adhiktam, then we'll say tam. And if you have to say pravaktum, then we have to put tum, like that.
It was some verse from Bhagavatam. I'm just forgetting, but when I was reading, I thought that I have to ask you. I forgot which number.
Okay, no problem. All right, so should we get started? Hare Krishna, Chitra Mataji, Dandvat Pranams. Thanks for joining the class, and thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranams.
Sutapa Mataji, thank you. Sukumaladi Mataji for joining us as well. So we'll get started after these short prayers to the spiritual master. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yutapad Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Gaur Premanande. Welcome dear devotees, and thank you so much for joining our Saturday evening Krishna Katha.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranams.
Dandvat
Glory
Pranams.
to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Good to have you.
Hare Krishna
yes,
Mataji, Dandvat Pranams.
Hare
Hare Krishna to
Mataji,
everybody.
Dandvat
Hare Krishna, all the devotees.
Hare Krishna
Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
And
Bharsha Mataji, we cannot see you. Put your lights on.
Mataji, the room is very dark. I'm in Delhi, and that is why.
Oh, you're in Delhi? Oh, cold.
Mataji, yesterday went to Vrindavan.
Hey, you're Vrindavan. Dham Vasi.
Jai.
Namaste.
I went to Dham.
Very nice. Are you coming back to Pune or are you going to stay in Delhi?
No, coming back on Monday.
How's your brother?
He'll take time to recover.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's a long time.
Oh.
Wow. Yeah, I hope he takes to some Krishna Katha, right? That's a good, yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so we are broadcasting on Facebook and on YouTube. And we have got Varshana Mataji, Vindyavali, Simi Mataji, Chitra Mataji, Meera Mataji, Neeral Prabhu and Khyati Mataji, and Keshvi, and Poonam
Okay, should do.
Mataji, Sonia Mataji, I'm assuming. Sonia Mataji, Sumi Mataji, and Sutapa Mataji. So all over from India, West Coast, East Coast, everywhere. Thank you and welcome. And so we'll start by reading, I'll start by reading a little narration from Srimad Bhagavatam today before we go to our verse of today from the Bhagavad-gita. Okay, so I'm going to begin to share the screen here with you. And let's see. Can you see this? My screen?
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
Mataji.
All right. So this is a story from the Srimad Bhagavatam 6th canto. And there is an incident in Indra's life that this particular chapter is going to talk about. So, but Maharaj Parikshit, who's sitting on the banks of the Ganges, awaiting his death in 7 days, he's asking this question. Of course, there's less than 7 days left here because we are on the 6th canto of Bhagavatam. And so here, oops, where have we gone? Here. So Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Sukdev Goswami, O great sage, why did the spiritual master of demigods, Brihaspati, reject the demigods? So here a spiritual master is rejecting his disciple, who were his own disciples. What offense did the demigods commit against their spiritual master? Please describe to me this incident. Shukdev Goswami said, O king, once upon a time, the king of heaven, Indra, being extremely proud because of his great opulence of the three worlds, transgressed the laws of Vedic etiquette. Seated on his throne, he was surrounded by the Maruts, Vasus, Rudras, Adityas, Ribhus, Vishwadevas, Sadhyas, Ashwini Kumaras, Siddhas, Charanas, and Gandharvas, and by great saintly persons. Also surrounding him were the Vidyadharas, Apsaras, Kinnaras, Patagas, that is birds, Uragas, that is snakes. All of them were offering Indra their respect and services, and the Apsaras and Gandharvas were dancing and singing with very sweet musical instruments. Over Indra's head was a white umbrella, as effulgent as the full moon. Fanned by yak-tail whisks and served with all the paraphernalia of a great king, Indra was sitting with his wife Sachi-devi, who occupied half the throne, when the great sage Brihaspati appeared in that assembly. Brihaspati, the best of the sages, was the spiritual master of Indra and the demigods, and was respected by the demigods and demons alike. Nevertheless, although Indra saw his spiritual master before him, he did not rise from his own seat to offer a seat to his spiritual master, nor did Indra offer him a respectful welcome. Indra did nothing to show respect. Brihaspati knew everything that would happen in the future. Seeing Indra's transgression of etiquette, he completely understood that Indra was puffed up by his material opulence. Although able to curse Indra, he did not do so. Instead, he left the assembly and in silence returned to his home. Indra, the king of heaven, could immediately understand his mistake. Realizing he had disrespected his spiritual master, he condemned himself in the presence of all members of his assembly. Alas, what a regrettable deed I have committed because of my lack of intelligence and my pride in my material opulences. I failed to show respect to my spiritual master when he entered this assembly, and thus I have insulted him. Although I am king of the demigods who are situated in the mode of goodness, I was proud of a little opulence and polluted by a false ego. Under the circumstances, who in this world would accept such riches at the risk of falling down? Alas, I condemned my wealth and opulence. If a person says one who is situated on the exalted throne of a king should not stand up to show respect to another king or a brahmana, it is to be understood that he does not know the superior religious principles. Leaders who have fallen into ignorance and who mislead people by directing them to the path of destruction, as described in the previous words, are in effect boarding a stone boat, and so too are those who blindly follow them. A stone boat would be unable to float and would sink in the water with its passengers. Similarly, those who mislead people go to hell and their followers go with them. King Indra said, therefore, with great frankness and without duplicity, I shall now bow my head at the lotus feet of Brihaspati, the spiritual master of the demigods. Because he is in the mode of goodness, he is fully aware of all knowledge and is the best of the Brahmanas. Now I shall touch his lotus feet and offer my obeisances unto him to try to satisfy him. While Indra, the king of the demigods, thought in this way and repented in his own assembly, Brihaspati, the most powerful spiritual master, understood his mind. Thus he became invisible to Indra and left home, for Brihaspati was spiritually more powerful than King Indra. Although Indra searched vigorously with the assistance of the other demigods, he could not find Brihaspati. Then Indra thought, alas, my spiritual master has become dissatisfied with me, and now I have no means of achieving good fortune. Although Indra was surrounded by demigods, he could not find peace of mind. Hearing of the pitiable condition of King Indra, the demons, following the instructions of the Guru Shukracharya, equipped themselves with weapons and declared war against the demigods. The demigods' heads, thighs, and arms, and the other parts of the bodies were injured by the sharp arrows of the demons. The demigods, headed by Indra, saw no other course than to immediately approach Lord Brahma with bowed heads for shelter and proper instruction. When the most powerful Lord Brahma saw the demigods coming toward him, their bodies gravely injured by the arrows of the demons, he pacified them by his great causeless mercy and spoke as follows. Lord Brahma said, O best of the demigods, unfortunately, because of madness resulting from your material opulence, you failed to receive Brihaspati properly when he came to your assembly. Because he is aware of the Supreme Brahman and is fully in control of his senses, he is the best of the Brahmanas. Therefore, it's very astonishing that you have acted impudently towards him. Because of your misbehavior towards Brihaspati, you have been defeated by the demons. My dear demigods, since the demons were weak, having been defeated by you several times, how else could you, who were so advanced in opulence, be defeated by them? O Indra, your enemies, the demigods, were extremely weak because of their disrespect towards Shukracharya. But since they have now worshipped Shukracharya with great devotion, they have again become powerful. By their devotion to Shukracharya, they have increased their strength so much that now they are even able to easily seize my abode from me. Because of their firm determination to follow the instructions of Shukracharya, his disciples, the demons, are now unconcerned about the demigods. In fact, kings or others who have determined faith in the mercy of Brahmanas, cows, and Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and who always worship these three are always strong in their position. I'm going to repeat that. In fact, kings or others who have determined faith in the mercy of the Brahmanas, cows, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna, and who always worship these three are always strong in their position. O demigods, I instruct you to approach Vishwarupa, the son of Tvashta, and accept him as your guru. He is a pure and very powerful Brahmana, undergoing austerity and penances. Pleased by your worship, he will fulfill your desires, provided that you tolerate his being inclined to side with the demons. And just to give a little bit of a background as to why this powerful Brahmana, who is undergoing austerity and penances and is the son of Tvashta, his name is Vishwarupa, why he should be inclined towards the demigod with all the good qualities that we are talking about, right? But he's inclined to side with the demons. And the reason for that, Bhagavatam explains in the previous chapters, is that his mother came from a demoniac family. So he's got a little affection towards the maternal side of his family as well. So he said that, accept him as your guru, but be tolerant of the fact that he might be inclined to side with the demons. Here Sukdev Goswami continued, thus advised by Lord Brahma and relieved of their anxiety, all the demigods went to the sage Vishwarupa, the son of Tvashta. My dear king, they embraced him and spoke as follows. The demigod said, beloved Vishwarupa, may there be all good fortune to you. We, the demigods, have come to your ashram as your guests. Please try to fulfill our desires according to time, since we are on the level of your parents. O Brahmana, the highest duty of a son, even though he has sons of his own, is to serve his parents, and what to speak of a son who is a brahmachari. The Acharya, the spiritual master who teaches all the Vedic knowledge and gives initiation by offering the sacred thread, is the personification of all the Vedas. Similarly, a father personifies Lord Brahma, a brother King Indra, a mother the planet Earth, and a sister Mercy. A guest personifies religious principles, and an invited guest personifies the demigod Agni, and all living entities personify Lord Vishnu, the supreme personality of Godhead. Dear son, we have been defeated by enemies, and therefore we are very much aggrieved. Please mercifully fulfill our desires by relieving our distress to the strength of your austerities. Please fulfill our prayers. Since you are completely aware of the Supreme Brahman, you are a perfect Brahmana, and therefore you are the spiritual master of all orders of life. We accept you as our spiritual master and director, so that by the power of your austerity, we may easily defeat the enemies who have conquered us. The demigods continued, do not fear criticism for being younger than us. Such etiquette does not apply in regard to Vedic mantras. Except in relationship to Vedic mantras, seniority is determined by age, but one may offer respectful obeisances even to a younger person who is advanced in chanting the Vedic mantras. Therefore, although you are junior in relationship to us, you may become our priest without hesitation. Sukdev Goswami continued, when all the demigods requested the great Vishrupa to be their priest, Vishwarupa, who was advanced in austerities, was very pleased. He replied to them as follows. Shri Vishwarupa said, O demigods, although the acceptance of priesthood is decreed as causing the loss of previously acquired Brahminical power, how can someone like me refuse to accept your personal request? You are all exalted commanders of the entire universe. I am your disciple and must take many lessons from you. Therefore, I cannot refuse you. I must agree for my own benefit. O exalted governors of various planets, the true Brahmana, who has no material possessions, maintains himself by the profession of accepting Shilochana. In other words, he picks up grains left in the field and on the ground in the wholesale marketplace. By this means, householder Brahmanas who actually abide by the principles of austerity and penance maintain themselves and their families and perform all necessary pious activities. A Brahmana who desires to achieve happiness by gaining wealth through professional priesthood must certainly have a very low mind. How shall I accept such priesthood? All of you are my superiors, therefore, although accepting priesthood is sometimes reproachable, I cannot refuse even a small request from you. I agree to be your priest. I shall fulfill your desire, your request by dedicating my life and possessions. Shri Sukdev Goswami continued, O king, after making this promise to the demigods, the exalted Vishwarupa, surrounded by the demigods, performed the necessary priestly activities with great enthusiasm and attention. The opulence of the demons, who are generally known as the enemies of the demigods, was protected by the talents and tactics of Shukracharya. But Vishwarupa, who was most powerful, composed a protective prayer known as Narayan Kavacha. By this intelligent mantra, he took away the opulence of the demons and gave it to Mahendra, the king of heaven. Vishwarupa, who was most liberal, spoke to King Indra, Sahasraksha, the secret hymn that protected Indra and conquered the military power of the demons. Okay, so I'll pause here a little while and let's bring up some of the points that you heard from this narration of King Indra. Anything that comes to your mind? Any word? What happened in this story?
He did not give respect to the spiritual master when he visited the assembly. Initially. Yeah. And then later he realized his mistake.
He realized his mistake. Okay, he didn't offer obeisance to his spiritual master. Then he realized, right? Okay, then what happened?
I realized that it is so important to give respect to your spiritual master, how important he is to you. So we should always consider him as the most respectable person.
Very nice. Yeah.
Because he's the one who will take us to God. He will guide us going towards the God.
Right. And what happened in the case of Indra when he did not respect his spiritual master?
He lost all his opulences and all his power.
And how did he lose his opulences? Who took them away?
Shukracharya.
Little bit more precise.
His spiritual master took away all his opulences, didn't he?
His spiritual master was the cause of all his opulences. Yes, you're right, since we depend on them. But who were the instruments of taking away his opulence? As soon as the word spread that Indra, his spiritual master, is angry, then what happened? Something happened, right? Somebody attacked him?
The demons.
The demons attacked him, right? Yeah. And so how come the demons were able to defeat Indra?
They were strictly obeying their spiritual master, who is Sukracharya. So they have that advantage over Indra.
Yes, yeah. So since you did not respect your spiritual master, so he left your assembly, and but the demigod, your enemy, they were respecting the spiritual master, and then they attacked. Then what happened?
So then he goes to Lord Brahma.
They all go to Lord Brahma, right? They all go to Lord Brahma. And then what did Lord Brahma tell them?
To go to Vishwarupa.
To go to Vishwarupa, and Vishwarupa was the son of? Tvashta, right? The son of Tvashta, yeah, right? The son of Tvashta. And then what did Brahma tell them, particularly about Vishwarupa?
That he will help you, but he's on the side of the demons, so be careful.
He has a little tendency to be on the side of the wind. And what did he ask Indra to do? Tolerate, right? You have to tolerate his tendency to be inclined towards the Vishwarupa's tendency to be inclined towards the demons, right? And so, okay, and then what did they do? What did the demigods do after that?
So they go to Vishwarupa.
They go to Vishwarupa, right?
Yeah.
And then what did Vishwarupa do?
Okay.
They asked Vishwarupa to become their priest, right? And then although Vishwarupa was younger than them in age, but they said that, when we are doing Vedic things, it doesn't matter, age doesn't matter, because age means material, right? We are on the material level, but you are at a higher level. And then, so he accepted their priesthood, right? And he became the priest. And then what did he do as a priest? What did he give Indra?
He gave him back his opulences.
Yeah, but through what? What was the mechanism? Of course, he has to go back and fight and get it back, right? But how was he victorious in the fight this time? What was the reason Indra will become victorious? Because he has given him the protective shield known as Narayan Kavacha. Right? So towards the end, we hear that he gave him. Right. Now Indra was addressed by another name here. Does anybody remember? Did you all notice he was called by another name? In the narration as we were reading this, maybe we missed it. I'll bring it up again. So let's share the screen. Sahasraksha, okay. And then one more. In the previous verse.
Mahendra.
Mahendra, right? So Mahendra also means Indra. And then Sahasraksha, right? Okay. So now they have accepted Vishwarupa, and we'll read a few more verses. Well, the next chapter is all about Narayan Kavach. I won't go through that. We already went through it earlier, a couple of months ago. But we'll go to the next next chapter, and pick up a few verses from there. Okay. So now we see that Indra was sitting in his throne with his wife, and everybody was, praising him, and that goes to his head, and he ignores to respect his spiritual master. But then immediately, as soon as the spiritual master goes, he is guilty, right? The guilt comes, he's remorseful And in the front of the whole assembly, he's saying that I have done a wrong thing, which is a big thing, right? Everybody, or your juniors are sitting in front of you, and then to accept and say that I made a mistake. It's a huge thing. So Indra, he does it, right? So first he commits an offense, then he has a guilt, right? And then now they're going to Brahma, and Brahma is giving them instructions. And one instruction that has come is be tolerant, right, of Vishrupa. So let's go here and read a little bit more about what happens next, right? So here, Shiktis Goswami continued, Vishwarupa, who was engaged as the priest of the demigods, had 3 heads.
You're not sharing your screen, Mataji.
Oh, wow. That adds to the suspense, doesn't it? Thank you. All right. So now sharing. So Sukdev Goswami continued, Vishwarupa, who was engaged as the priest of the demigods, had 3 heads. He used one to drink the beverage, Somarasa, another to drink wine, and the third to eat food. O King Parikshit, thus I have heard from authorities. O Maharaj Parikshit, the demigods were related to Vishrupa from his father's side, and therefore he visibly offered clarified butter in the fire while chanting mantras such as Indraya Idam Swaha, this is meant for King Indra, and Idam Agnaye, this is meant for demigod of fire. He loudly chanted these mantras and offered each of the demigods his proper share. Although offering clarified butter in the sacrificial fire in the name of the demigods without the knowledge of the demigods, he also offered oblations to the demons because they were his relatives through his mother. Once upon a time, however, the king of heaven, Indra, understood that Vishrupa was secretly cheating the demigods by offering oblations on behalf of the demons. He became extremely afraid of being defeated by the demons, and in great anger at Vishrupa, he cut Vishrupa's 3 heads from his shoulders. So we can stop it now here, right? Now let us see and analyze Indra's behavior from the previous chapter as well as what happened in this chapter. Reflection.
He became suspicious about Vishwarupa that he's indirect. I mean, he is like siding the demons. So he cut his 3 heads.
Right, and was it news to him?
No.
It was not news to him, right? Who had warned him?
Because he had already been told by Lord Brahma that be careful, because from his mother's side, he's from a demoniac family.
Yeah. Let us see. Did Brahma ask him to be careful, or was it something more precise?
Asked him to tolerate.
Tolerate, yeah. Exactly, right? So thank you. He asked him to be tolerant, right? So when you look at the character of Indra, the first what he did, intoxicated by the wealth, his wealth, right? And then spiritual master gets angry and he realizes his guilt is there. And then he's given a solution by Brahma, given an instruction to be tolerant. And then what did he do? Was he tolerant?
He shows anger.
Anger came back.
Okay, good. And I think Poonam Mataji has a question, so we'll take it. And Meera also has a question. We'll take that as well.
So, Mataji, then I think I read in different stories about Indra and how basically his characteristics of the personality. So why Indra is still considered to be one of the Devta?
Yeah, that brings us to the question that who are the Devtas? Who are Devtas? Right? And this is what Prabhupada's books open our eyes, because at least when I was in India, I had no idea about the difference between a Devta and Bhagwan. They are 2 different words.
Yeah.
And they point to 2 different entities, right? So yeah. Devta is nothing but a demigod. And who is a demigod? A demigod is a manager. That's all demigods do. So demigods are devotees who are devoted to the Lord Krishna, but however, they also have these desires to manage. For example, Mataji, you are working in some organization today, and then you go and join a bigger company, and you join a bigger company, and then somebody makes you, the president of America. And then afterwards, something happens in the world and you become the head of this whole world. The whole world, this planet Earth is underneath you. Are the desires going to stop?
No.
Maybe they will in
Really?
Punam, but generally not, right?
Not
So then
increase.
after you have conquered Earth, what do you want to conquer? The moon. Right? So these desires, they grow. And so when people want to be able to control and manage even bigger things, or even here, right? We have no control over the wind, right? Or over the fire, right? If the house catches fire, we can only put water on it. We cannot just shout at fire and say, hey, shut down, and the fire will shut down. It doesn't happen that way. But if we have desires like that, to do things like that, then I need to be somebody else. So I could have desires to control the water, the fire, so you see where I'm going? You can become Agni Devta, Moon Devta, like that, right? But I'm a devotee of the Lord. But I have these strong material desires as well. So the Lord, whatever you want, you are given that. So you will be promoted and you'll become a Devta, right? So Devta is nothing but a manager. But the Devtas are devotees. So there are managers, there are people who manage this world, or there are people who manage this planet, they manage factories, companies, organizations. It's not necessary that they are devotees of the Lord, not necessary. But to become a Devta, that's one of the conditions, that you have to be a devotee of the Lord. And then only you become a Devta.
So Devta and demigod, these are like synonyms? Or
Yes, they're synonymous.
synonyms.
Yeah.
Okay.
Synonymous is language. Yeah. The difference is language. Yeah.
So
And Bhagwan,
So one characteristic is the devotee. Can a human be like, we heard like there's so many human beings which are devotees to the God, and can they be demigod, or demigod
yes,
has to
yeah.
be assigned?
Yeah, no, there are 31 crore demigods, and demigod is a role. It's a role, it's a position people can occupy, like President of India. So many people have been President of India, right?
Got it.
They need to have certain necessary qualifications. So demigods will also be like that.
And Bhagwan, you were saying, and I cut you off. Yes.
Vadanti tattva-vidas tattvam yad brahma advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagwan iti shabdate. So this word Bhagwan was actually coined by Parashar Muni, who is the father of Vyasdev, who has written the Bhagavatam and documented the Bhagavatam and the Vedas, etc. So he says, so he has coined this verse, and he says Bhagwan is one who's got 6 opulences. Right? And those 6 opulences, anybody wants to share what those 6 opulences are? You want to
He
recall?
is the
Fame,
most
wealth,
beautiful,
strength,
fame, wealth,
renunciation.
strength.
Okay, each one
Renunciation.
of you give me only one, because I can't hear if everybody talks. One each.
He is
Knowledge.
most beautiful.
Most beautiful. Okay, got it.
Knowledge.
Knowledgeable.
Fame.
Very famous.
Strength.
Very wealthy. Okay.
Opulent.
So we have got wealthy, we have got fame, we have got beautiful.
Most opulent.
Wealthy, that we took.
Renunciation.
He's most renounced. Okay. 4. 2 more.
Strength.
He's very strong. And
Beauty.
knowledgeable. Beauty we took, right? So knowledgeable. So this is most, right? So if you are saying that, okay, this person is beautiful, well, more beautiful than this is that, like you keep on doing with Bollywood stars, right? Is Aishwarya Rai beautiful, or is Hema Malini beautiful? No. So that way you keep on saying until you come to a level where it says nobody is more beautiful than this. That is God. Similarly, when it comes to power, who's more powerful? That is God. And all these opulences are residing in one person, which they rarely do here in this material world, right? George Bernard Shaw, very beautiful. No. Very intelligent. Yes. Right. Marilyn Monroe, beautiful, intelligent. We don't know, like that, right? So when all these 6 opulences are there, your mind is going to be very much attracted towards that. And that is why in Sanskrit, there's a word akarshan, right? And then from there, you get the word Krishna. Krishna is one who is all attractive. Why does he attract you? Because of these 6 opulences, like that there. So, and there is only one, Krishna. So Indra, that's why we hear these stories. And Indra is actually a devotee of the Lord. And I was thinking about Indra the other day, that you don't know. So one thing we have to be very careful in this material world is that when you're looking at things, we have to be very careful about judging. Because sometimes people take on roles. He's a devotee of the Lord. You're a devotee of the Lord. Now, if Krishna comes and says, "Hey, Vindhyavali Mataji, do you want to take, will you take the role of a bad woman in a play that I want?" Right? So a devotee of the Lord will say, "Yes, anything you say, tell me to do, I will do it." Because devotee, it doesn't matter, right? If you kill me, you beat me, whatever you do, it's complete surrender. You'll say, "Yes, we'll do." So sometimes these devotees in the role of Indra are actually portraying certain things for us that don't do this, right? In the previous lectures, I was talking about how Brahma gets attracted to his own daughter. I mean, Brahma is a demigod. He must be a devotee of such a high caliber. So how can you even think that a devotee like that will do something? But sometimes they will do this so that to tell you the dangers. They tell you the dangers of, what it means to associate with the opposite sex. What can happen, right? So if such a thing can happen to Brahma also, then we'll be like, oh, I better be careful about, where my thoughts, my actions, who I associate with, how much I associate, and things like that. So, so Indra that way has got the role. He's got the role to show to you how people can be lusty. He's always after lust, right? He wants this and wants that, very, very desires things. So, and we hear all bad stories about Indra, right? And then yet Krishna always protects him. And this is very, very important thing. And that is a verse from Bhagavad-gita where Krishna says, "Kaunteya prati janehi name bhaktya pranashyati." That declare it boldly, my devotee never perishes. And that is being seen. So Bhagavad-gita is philosophy. In Bhagavatam, they will explain that through narrations. And so you see, after Indra does this and that, yet Krishna will protect him all the time. He was disobedient to his spiritual master, but then yet through Brahma, Krishna is telling him that, oh, get the Narayan Kavacha. Because the reason is that Krishna doesn't really want the demons to rule the world. He really wants the demigods to rule the world. Now, if demigods, they will do silly things and they will lose all their opulences, then Krishna will reestablish that. Krishna likes organized religion, so to speak. Chaturvarna Mayashishtam, all that he has done, right? So, so that is, that's that. Poonam, I hope it answers your question. The Devta versus Bhagwan and why Indra is like that.
Yeah. Yes, Mataji, it is.
Yes. And then Meera, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everybody. I was wondering, how did demons come into existence in the first place? Were they created that way by God?
Yeah, what's the difference between demigod and a demon? Demigods accept Krishna and demons don't. So the difference is in the consciousness. Demons look exactly like us. So do the devtas, right? They have 2 eyes, they have a nose, they have teeth.
But
right?
when you look at the older movies, the demons are so portrayed to be looking so...
Some of them, yeah, but not necessarily.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, yeah. The demons could be a beautiful person, right? Yeah, demons can be beautiful also. Actually,
so they were created same. They just
they were not created. They were not created the same. Remember, we fallen from the heavens, right? From the Goloka, and when we fall down, we come down as human beings first, and then we read that, right? In the 3rd chapter beginning, it said that first I send down generations, and they also give them instructions, the Vedas, to come back, right? So we are put into this material world because of our lack of obedience to Krishna. But then Krishna gives us the manual to get back to him. But there's also this choice here in this material world that to continue our desires of not serving Krishna. So then if that consciousness is heavy, then slowly over birth after birth after birth after birth, you will get converted into a demon.
Okay.
It's not that they're created like ourselves. So whatever gross body that we get is a result of our karmic reactions and our desires.
So they were human beings.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Actually, I've heard some say that, when the soul first falls down, they start as Brahma. You're Brahma, you're on the topmost planet. From there itself, go back up. But then we decide to fall further down and further down and further down till we come to this middle space where we are.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of good. Why it is good? Because we don't have the opulence of a demigod. And we just now saw in this chapter that what opulence does. Actually, Indra was condemning his own wealth. He said, I condemn such a wealth that makes you forget your spiritual master, right? I condemn that wealth is what he says. And then, so here on the higher planets, higher level devotees of the Lord, right? Here, it's a mix is there, but the opulence is there a lot on the higher planets also. So there's a chance of falling down, as we can see in the case of Indra. Middle planet, there is balance. And there is sorrow also here. A lot of sorrow is there in the middle world. And it is only sorrow that makes you remember Krishna. Right? That's what Kunti Maharani prays.
Kunti Maharani.
Yeah.
Right? And then as you start going to the lower planetary systems, the opulence increases more and godliness decreases or is non-existent in the Netherlands or the Patal, Rasatal, Talatal, Sutal, Vital. Those planetary systems, the 7 below, there's a lot of opulence. It's like Las Vegas. Actually, in the lower planetary systems, even the sun rays do not reach there. But people are so opulent that they have money on their foreheads, and from there they get even more than what we have, like that. So that's how they are there. Chitra Mataji.
So, so we know that when we serve the devotees, the Supreme Lord Krishna is happy. So in that context, the Devtas, they are also devotees of the Supreme Lord. So we see some people, they have these Devtas as their, they worship the Devtas, right?
Demigod.
So, yeah, demigods. So, so does that mean that Lord Krishna will be happy if they behave in such a way? Or, I mean, even I see many people, I have a lot of friends who worship Devtas and demigods, and they believe that each one have their own, ideas and perspectives of, oh no, Lord Shiva is the god and Lord Ganesha is the god, things like that. So does it mean that if such people worship the Devdas, Supreme Lord Krishna is going to be happy? Or, but Bhagavad-gita says you don't have to worship the Devtas, you can worship me, kind of thing. So I'm a little bit confused there.
Right. A very good question. And then we have to see the intention behind things, right? So, and Krishna is Bhavgrahi Janardana, which means that he's sitting in our hearts, right? Sarvasya Chaham Hidi Sannivishto. So I sit in everybody's heart and I know what's going on in your heart, where the mind is, right? Which is generating these thoughts. So when you can approach devotees in two ways. And Bhagavatam will tell you very interesting stories. So you can approach, you can approach a demigod in two ways. One is to get material opulence. Hey, Indra, I want something. Hey, that demigod, I want something, right? Or Ganesha worship. Let's take Ganesha worship. It's very popular in India, right? And everybody wants to worship Ganesha. But so Ganesha is famous for removing what?
Obstacles.
Obstacle. Okay. So now why do you want obstacles to be removed? And which obstacles are you asking to be removed? That's the question to ask.
Material.
Right. So you can pray to Ganesha and say, Ganesha, please remove obstacles in my spiritual life, or please remove obstacles to my spiritual growth. That's absolutely okay. An okay reason to worship a demigod. Right? And people worship Shiva. right? They might even think that Shiva is God, right? They can think and they worship, right? But Shiva knows whether he's God or not,
Yes.
right? If you start worshiping and saying, Shraddha Mataji, you're God, right? And you please me completely and very happy, right? And I am not God, right? I am a devotee of Krishna. So because I'm a devotee of Krishna and I see somebody else being misled and having some misconceptions that I'm actually God, but I'm very happy with this person, what will I do? I will guide that person to Krishna. And this is what Shiva does. The Shiva Gita. In Bhagavatam, there is a chapter on Shiva Gita where he talks about the opulences of Krishna, right? So that again, right? So you approach the devotee, thinking they were God, like that, right? So 3 ways you can approach, right? You can approach devotee, you can approach a demigod. One is purely material things. And that's what they're saying, don't do it. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to make him happy, right? You're trying to make them happy to get something which you were not destined to get. You're trying to mess up, right? So like, or, Prabhupada says, don't try to bribe them. He uses a very strong word, don't bribe them, right? So that's bribing. And also one might ask the question that why do demigods then do it? So there are laws of material nature. If you do this, then that has to happen. Right? If you pour water, then fire will be extinguished, like that. That is why, Ravana, when he asked for Brahma was obligated to give him whatever he was asking for, because if you do so many things, then you will get it, like that. The second is to think that demigod is God. And the third one is to ask, knowing that he's not a God, but he's a devotee of the Lord, but serving a devotee and asking a devotee to help you. That's why you see Katyayani, that gopis used to worship Katyayani, right? And Katyayani is Parvati. So why are you worshiping Parvati? But what were they doing? Like they were worshiping, like, give me Krishna as my husband. So that's fine. They are aiming for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like that.
Thank you, Mataji.
You're welcome. Okay, and then Vindhyavali Mataji, you had your hand up.
Yes, Mataji. Number one is, what is that? Indra, actually for Govardhan Parvat also, he acted like that.
Yes.
And he got the result for that.
He's very naughty.
Yeah, he's
very naughty. Yeah. So the reason I brought this up, and I think it's a good time for us to go to our chapter for today, right? Let me just share my screen again with you.
And then Shiva also giving boons to Bhasmasura. So he himself started running away from him.
Right.
And then see, this one is Vishnu Purana, that Aiswaryasya Samakrasya.
Yeah. You remember we did that? You remember we all memorized
Jnana
that?
Vairagya Sanam Bhagat Itingana. So all the six opulences he has.
And I think you all had taken those opulences, right? One of you were the keeper, one of you.
Yeah.
Just Aishwarya.
Yeah.
Right? You remember who took what?
Yeah, I remember.
What did you have?
Strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty.
Yeah, beauty. Yeah. Okay. So now let's go to our chapter for today, 3.36, and we'll come back right to our discussion. Arjuna Vacha Atha Kena Prayukto Yam Papam Charati Purushaha Anicham Api Varshneya Baladi Vaniyojitaha. Arjuna Vacha, Arjun said, Atha, then, Kena, by what? Prayuktaha, impelled. I am one. Papam, sins. Oops, what happened? Charati, does. Purushaha, a man. Anicham, without desiring. Api, although. Varshneya, O descendant of Vrishni. Balat, by force. Eva, as if. Niyojitaha, engaged. So, in the previous verses, Krishna has been telling him about Prakritiya Kriyamanani, Gunaya Karmani Sarvasha, right? Everything happens under the modes of material nature. The foolish soul thinks Kartaham iti manyate, that I am the doer. And then he tells him that, you should do everything according to the laws of Krishna. And those who do not do them, all their efforts are ruined, like that, right? And so on and so forth. And in the previous verse, Krishna had said, and let me take you to the previous verse also, real quickly. And so in 3.35, he was saying that, so you should add according to the, your varna, and do whatever has been prescribed to you, do that. don't do others, prescribe duties of others. Like if you're Brahmana, don't act like a Kshatriya because that's a dangerous thing, right? And so Krishna has given him all these instructions. So now Arjuna is asking this question. He says, "O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts even unwillingly as if engaged by force?" So it's a very interesting thing that he's addressing Krishna as Vrishni because he comes from the Vrishni clan, right? So in the Vrishni clan, there was a king who was completely sinless, right? So here Arjuna is saying that you are Krishna, you are coming from that, legacy, right? Or lineage. You're coming from that lineage. So you will be able to tell me. You are coming from a family where people don't do any sins. So can you please tell me that what makes people sin? By what is when impelled? Impelled means pushed, right? To sinful act, even unwillingly, right? And you will see, it was very interesting that for the first time when I went to Bombay, I was a very young girl, 15 years old, and they took me in the local train. So from Dadar to, I don't know, Matanga or something like that. I don't remember. The train was going to go. So we boarded. We started from the place where the train starts. So we boarded nicely, and the train doesn't have any doors, you know that. And so I was standing, and then they said, well, when the Dadar comes, the train is going to stop for very few seconds. So you have to be very careful that you get off on time. And then, otherwise the train will start moving again. So I said, fine. And so I was very well, ready, but I was not close to the door. And I was a little bit scared also of being close to the door because I had not seen trains which didn't have doors. So I was a little bit inside the train. And when Dadar came, I didn't have to do anything. I found myself on the platform by myself.
You got pushed.
Anybody experienced that?
You got pushed.
Absolutely. Impelled.
Yeah.
So that is impelling. You don't have to do anything. As if there's some inner force that is making you do that. Right?
In India lines also, if you stand, you will be pushed there.
Will be pushed.
Automatically,
Yeah.
you don't need
to have to do anything, right? Similarly, and then on the stations where the train doesn't stop for a long time and you are on the platform and you have to board the train, again, you don't have to do much. People will make you board, right? Others. And that goes to devotee association in your devotional service. It's like boarding the train back to Godhead, back to Goloka.
Nice
as long as you're
example.
in the association of devotees, you will get pushed.
Nice example, Mataji.
So impel, that is what impelling means, right? So now let's go back to what the Prabhupada says in the purport of this. And so he's saying that a living entity as part and parcel of the Supreme is originally spiritual, pure, and free from all material contamination. Therefore, by nature, he is not subject to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he is still forced to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse. Okay, so we're going to stop here and now go back and connect ourselves with Indra.
What we read. Yes, Mataji, he was impelled to do this.
You take off your sword and you cut off the head of your priest, right? So first you did not respect your spiritual master, you felt bad, there was guilt. And then something similar happens and you were impelled. And so Arjuna is asking this, like, what happened? And Prabhupada is telling us here that it is not the super soul inside you who's telling you to do that. Because sometimes people will put the blame on the Lord. God made me do this. God made me do that. Or I'm not able to do this because God is not allowing this to happen. Or why is God doing this? Why are all these bad things? Why is God doing all these bad things to me? And we always say that when bad things are happening, They will say, when bad things happen, they'll say, why is Krishna doing this? Right? However, when good things are happening, do we say that Krishna is
Very
making
less people
Yeah.
will say, thank you, Krishna. No.
Less people will say, thank you, Krishna.
Very
Right?
few people will say it.
Right. So Prabhupada is pointing this thing out very clearly that, don't blame it on the super soul. Krishna made me do it. Krishna from within my heart made me do this.
Our free will, Mataji.
Yeah, you have your free will, right? So here we see that Indra was unhappy of having disrespected his spiritual master. There was a guilt. It's a very important trait to have guilt. And I think I told the story before, but I'll say it again here, that there was a teenager and very happy-go-lucky boy, 16, 17 years old, brought a scooter, used to drive, take his friends around here and there, studied nicely. And then suddenly he started becoming very, quiet and thoughtful, wouldn't smile and things like that. His mother was suspicious. And when parents are suspicious of their kids, what do parents do? They start going through their things, right? Their diary, open their drawer, see what's going on.
Cell phone.
Is he taking drugs, open the backpack, although it doesn't happen here in America. American parents give privacy, but at least in other parts of the world, kids don't have that much. Parents will go through, open their trash can and see what's there, right? So they do that. So his mother started doing the same thing. So he opened the cupboard where he used to keep his clothes. And, the cupboards have got shelves and we normally put some paper on the shelves. And so a parent will also open that paper to see what is underneath it. And that's what he did. And there she found a little cutting from a newspaper. And the cutting from the newspaper said that, a girl on, this is a story from Delhi, so on Connaught Place Circle, was hit by a person on the scooter and the person ran away, hit and ran. And the girl was hospitalized. So the mother then understood what had happened. So then she contacted the newspaper and office and find out where it was happened, precise things like that. And then she goes and meets the girl in the hospital, and she takes care of her, goes to meet her every day and things like that. And when she gets okay, then she brings her home one day, and then the son returns home and he sees her there. And then anyway, so to cut a long story short, later on, he thanks his mother for taking care and, understands all this. And then he asks that, then he says that it's such a big relief, such a big feeling of guilt has gone away from my heart to see her alive, because he had just hit her and run away. He just thought that the girl has, being hit, and the person ran away and the girl is hospitalized, but he didn't know after hospitalization what happened to her, right? So that guilt was weighing very heavy on his heart, and the mother sensed it. And so he thanked his mother, and then the mother blessed him. And do you know what the blessing the mother gave? The mother just said that, I wish and I pray and I bless you that every time that you do anything wrong in your life, that you have the kind of guilt that you had after hitting this girl and running away. And so guilt is a very important factor. And guilt actually is Radha Swami Maharaj says that guilt is actually your first step towards going back to Godhead. And why? Because guilt is telling you that you believe that there is Paramatma in my heart. So Puna Mataji, when we said Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagwan iti Shabdate. So Bhagwan is known as three. Brahmeti, that is Brahman or effulgence, Paramatma lying in your heart, and Bhagwan, who is Krishna himself. So when you have guilt, so Indra had guilt. He's a devotee, so he will have that guilt. But then he gets propelled. He gets propelled from something that we don't know. What makes him do that?
But if he's feeling guilt also, he's keep on doing that.
Yes, that is for us to understand. Absolutely. So you have to be very strong. And in my narration from today, we also heard that it said that when Brahaspati left his thing, it said Brahaspati was spiritually more stronger than Indra, right? So everybody is on their own journey going back to Godhead, right? So not everybody will be at the same level. So these are the dangers. You will fall again and again, again and again, again, again. But remember, Krishna will be there to take care of you. And that's why of the 10 topics that are mentioned as discussed in the Bhagavatam, Poshanam is one of them. Poshanam means protection. So not only will you do protection, like, somebody is clearly the Vrindavan Vasis, the Gokul Vasis, they are all devotees of Krishna. So he picks up the Govardhan hill and protects them. Big deal, right? They are devotees. Krishna is supposed to protect them. But Krishna also protects Indra, who doesn't display that much of devotion. So even if you do this much of devotion, right? 2.40, Neha Vikrama Nashasi Pratyavayona Vidyate. Even if you do this much of devotion service, your protection is there from Krishna, The protection is there. And sometimes you might not understand that this really was his protection. When the beatings that we get from Krishna was really a protection from pursuing, right? If Brahaspati would not have done anything, then Indra would have pursued on disrespecting his spiritual master over and over and over again. So sometimes when wrong things happen to us in life, they are also, mercy of Krishna, and to understand and realize that mercy is for us to do that, right? So, Sukomal Radhe Mataji.
But Shraddha Mataji, you would think that someone who is as elevated as Lord Indra, it's so natural that when your spiritual master enters the room, the first thing you do is get up and offer obeisances. And then the minute he leaves, he realizes. So how come he just didn't realize at the time? And it required.
Remember what others were doing? Remember what was happening in his court at that time?
Yeah, they were singing and dancing and all.
And praising him. Yeah. And praising him. See, and this is what it is telling you. Praise goes to the head. So fast. That's the danger of praise. That's the danger of praise. And actually, in the Bhagavatam, it said, and Vaisheshika Prabhu always says that also. In Bhagavatam, it is said, you should neither criticize nor praise anybody. Because if you praise anybody, then that is also dangerous for the person who's receiving that praise. And then he said, okay, if given a choice, then please praise. don't criticize, but please praise. Yeah, like that.
Because you would think it's a very natural thing, right? Right away that your spiritual master enters the room, you drop everything and you offer obeisances. So you would think so. That Lord Indra would do it.
Yeah, you would think so, right? But what this chapter is telling us, that remember, that's a very natural thing, but it's also very natural to get drunk on opulence. And it is opulence that Indra is always worried about losing it, right? Some Vishwamitra is doing some prayers and he's like, oh, he's going to become Indra. Let me send a Menka there. He goes down to that extent. Here, this person, he's praying for the demons. Let me cut off his heads. 3 of them. 3 heads. He had 3 heads.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, I remember, you see, children playing with the toys. And the moment the mother enters the room, the child leaves all the toys and runs to the mother and hugs her. And I was just thinking, that kind of love we should have for the spiritual master and the God. That when, everything you have to leave, and you should have that childlike mind is required to love God.
Right, very right, yeah. And that's why you'll find some of the sannyasis that visit, they are really childlike. Their behavior is completely childlike, happy, laughing, not caring, this, that, right, Sumi.
Hi, Shraddha Mataji. I was just wondering, I guess it's just a clarification that I was looking for. If someone, does something wrong, maybe it hurts someone else and they develop guilt in their heart. I think you were saying that that's the first step to, I think, recognizing the Paramatma in the heart. So does that mean more maybe because you understand that the other person is feeling something and that maybe they're like a spiritual being? Is that what it means? And maybe not directly like they're realizing the Paramatma, because like I'm just thinking of like maybe like some friends, you know, I know someone who's like vegan but like a complete atheist, so like their conception, like they don't even believe that there's concept of soul. So but of course, like if someone is vegan, I feel like it's because, you know, they feel guilt, you know, about eating meat, but at the same time they don't, you know, have that understanding that, okay, there's maybe like a soul. They just completely like want to deny that aspect.
Yes. And yes, so definitely and they get pretty upset when they come to know that we drink milk. It's like,
yeah,
you
exactly.
do that. No, yeah.
Right.
But then when you bring in Krishna into connection, you say, Krishna, cows, Surabhi, she's meant to give us milk. We drink it. Why do you drink milk? It improves the ghee, especially from the milk. It develops a certain part of your brain that makes it easy for you to understand spiritual life. So that's why you'll see all these, you know, exalted devotees, they eat ghee. So yeah. And so you can be good. I mean, so what's going to happen? They're going to do good deeds, right? Preventing of killing of animals and all that. They're doing good things. So they're getting pious credits. And once they get pious credits, they're going to come back again into this world to enjoy the pious credits. And this way they will keep on coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. And that's it. Like on a Ferris wheel, up and down, but still in the material world. And it could happen that because of these good things that they have done, they get promoted to a higher planet. And on the higher planet, they get some opulence. The moment you get opulence, again, the story of Krishna, the story of Indra can happen.
But at some point they would, I guess, like their journey would lead them to maybe realize the Paramatma, or to realize
Brahmande bharmite kaun bhagyavan jeev, Guru Krishna prasade paye bhakti lata bij. So such people, through the mercy of a spiritual master or through Krishna, will find a way out. And that is why we go door to door. I just came back from distributing books at Apna Bazaar. And that's
Today
what
I also went to Apna Bazaar and distributed books.
There you go. Right?
Yeah.
So why are we doing this? We are trying to distribute the mercy that's coming from Srila Prabhupada. Like that. Yeah.
The other day I heard by Vaisheshika Prabhu's one book distribution thing, you know. One person was smoking, and he went there. That was really surprised me.
The lighter.
And he said, "Oh, you're relaxing." That person says, "Yes, I'm standing and smoking." Then he gives a book and he says, you know, that person says, "No, I don't have anything." Then he says, "No, I don't need anything. You just take the book and then whatever you have, give me." He just checks his pocket and he says, "I have pack of cigarettes and one lighter." He says, "Give the pack of cigarettes." Prabhu says, "Give the pack of cigarettes." And that guy says, "No, I want cigarette." Then he says, "Okay, give me the lighter." He gives the lighter. He brings the lighter home. And when he was praying his deities, you know, he lights the lamp and he prays for him. That was really touching, you know, that he took the lighter and he cannot smoke anymore, because if there's no lighter, he cannot do the smoke any more cigarettes, though he has pack of cigarettes in his pocket. So that was really good, and I like that. So I'm trying my best to do some book distribution here, Mataji.
Right. And this is known as Agyat Sukriti, that the person doesn't even know, but because his lighter that which he gave away is being used for something. So that's why, you know, I shamelessly ask people for money. And one might just think, you know, why does she ask for money? Why is she thinking about money? The reason we do that is that, you know, they might not do it, but if that money gets in purchasing books, which goes and changes somebody else's life, they get the pious credits for that. Their devotional service is going to begin.
That's what
they are going to get mercy credits for doing that. And even if you do neha vikramo nashosti, even if you do this much, right? Even if you do this much, if you were a vegan, but if you donated $5 for a Bhagavad-gita, your journey has begun, because that'll have its effect. Simi Mataji.
Oh, I don't have my hand up, Mataji. So sorry.
Sukomala Mataji has.
Simi Taneja.
Right.
The other one.
Sorry.
Simi, yeah.
Hare Krishna.
This one, Sumi. That's why you have your cameras open. It's always nice to see faces of you. Yeah, you're all beautiful. Why do you hide behind cameras? I don't. Whatever way, shape, form. Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
Mataji, like we are listening to Indra's, stories and his not good things and naughty things. So why is he still a demigod?
I think I answered that question earlier, right? Were you there? Poonam had asked that question, right?
Yeah, maybe I missed the.
Yeah. See, he's a demigod because he's a devotee. In the first place, he's a devotee of the Lord. If you read Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it'll tell that Indra starts his day with big worship. He even worships his little brother. What's his little brother's name? Oh, you all know it. Come on. Indra has got a real little brother. Little dwarf. Varshana Mataji starts with a V.
Vamana.
Vamana, exactly. Yeah, because he knows that Vamana is an incarnation of Krishna. Yeah. So he's a devotee, but
I didn't know that he is his brother.
Even I didn't know.
Raman,
I didn't know.
Why same mother,
I
Aditi?
didn't
Yeah, same
know.
mother, same father, Kashyap. Yeah. Yeah, he's Indra's brother. Yeah. So back to your question, Sri Mataji. So he is a devotee, but he has got some desires to manage and to have opulence and govern that. So that's why he's in that position. And so he will stay there. Now, will he become a demigod? Well, if he continues, will he remain a demigod? No. Ashine purne marte lokam vishanti. So when you get elevated to the heavenly planets, because of the credits that you have accumulated and your desires that you had, and if you did not pursue further devotional service, so after becoming Indra and being placed in the heavenly planets, you can be a good Indra, do devotional service, manage the affairs nicely, stay away from other politics that you do, then you will go to a higher, even higher planet from wherever Indra is, right? Where there will be, more opportunities for him to pursue devotional service, less distractions and things like that. On the other hand, if you don't do that, then remember, it's your pious credits are getting exhausted every time you use them. Till the end, you are kicked out of the heavenly planets and you will fall down to this material world.
What is the mother's name, Mataji?
Whose mother's name? Indra?
Indra's.
Aditi.
So Mataji, like the
Aditi has all the
example.
demons.
Sorry, Mataji. So so Indra doesn't set a good example.
Right.
Because
That is
as
why.
people, we will think, okay, we can do some pious activity, but we can do some, nonsense stuff, and then still it is okay, but it is not okay then.
It is not, yes. So that's, a devotee will not think like that. That is why we start with what is pure devotional service. We are not saying do devotional service. We are saying pure devotional service, which is anyabhlashita shunyam, jnana karmadhyana vitam, anukulyena krishnanu, shilanam bhakti uttama. So anyabhlashita shunyam, it should be devoid of any desires. That is why you at that level are at a higher position than the Indra we talked about. Devotees are higher than demigods. Pure devotees are higher. It was an interesting thing that once in Prabhupada's class, there was a student sitting and he asked Prabhupada, have you seen Indra? And Prabhupada was annoyed by that question. And then he said that, how does it matter to you whether I have seen Indra or not? And then somebody sitting in the front row, he said that, actually, it will benefit Indra if he sees Prabhupada. That's the difference between a devotee and a demigod. So that's where we focus on.
Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, I have one more question. Free will, which is like I would say it's a bothersome thing.
Yes.
Why won't Krishna prevent us from using our free will in a wrong way?
Okay. Now, why should he prevent you at all, right? So that's the way we are programmed. And why did Krishna program us with a free will? Anybody can give the answer to that? Why do you think Krishna gave us a free will?
So that we can use our intelligence and decide what is wrong and wrong, right?
But why do that? Why don't I just wire you that you do all good only?
So that our desires get fulfilled and we are satisfied.
Are we?
So that way we'll get rid of a little bit karma.
So that
whatever previous karma. No?
Somebody else was saying something?
So that like we can develop like a real relationship with Krishna and like develop like true love for Krishna. Like so that
Very right for 500 points. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like force, Krishna doesn't force us.
Force us. Yeah. Right. So Krishna wants people to love them, but then how will you get true love unless you give them the free will? Right? I mean, Sumi Mataji, you have a choice whether you want to like me or not. You have the free will. I hate Shraddha Mataji. I love her like that, right? I want you to love me. Now, if I force you and say, okay, Sumi Mataji, here's a gun on your forehead. Do you love me? What are you going to say? Yes. So that is why he does not interfere. He wants true and genuine love. And that is what the gopis then say at the extreme of their surrender. They love him so much that they say that whether you, Lampert, they call him Lampert. Lampert is a debauchee. That, and they are in love with him. And still they are saying, it doesn't matter. I love you so much. It doesn't matter. Even if you go off to other women, even if you don't appear in my heart. Okay, other women I can understand to a certain level that during the day you go off to other women, but in the night you come back home and you are mine. They're not even talking about that. They're saying, and even if you don't appear in front of me, I will still love you. That's the last verse of Shikshastakam, very powerful about the surrender. And we saw a little bit of the surrender in Srila Prabhupada's prayers, Amarikine, that, right? Where he says that make me dance, make me dance, make me dance, whichever way you want me to dance. It's a very difficult thing to do. When Krishna makes us dance, we just rebel. It was always, why is Krishna doing all these things to me? Because Krishna is a cruel God. Krishna is a cruel God. They think like that, right? Or he's a God who doesn't do anything. That's why sometimes in the Hindi movies you see some so gaye ho Bhagwan, soya hai Bhagwan, right? He's sleeping. And then somebody will come and say, yeah, he sleeps. Don't you see Vishnu sleeping? He's always sleeping. Not knowing the difference between yoga nidra and nidra. So people will come up with all kinds of things. All kinds of things to put the blame on others and not to take responsibility for our actions. So we are where we are because of our free will, which is there all the time. All the time. And so here, Arjuna is asking Krishna that what happens as if by force? That even my free will is kind of, gone down there. For example, if I'm a recovering alcoholic, I start going to Alcoholic Anonymous meetings. They tell me everything about how bad alcohol is, the bad effects of alcohol and everything. And I'm on the sobering route. I've thrown all the bottles. But one day I jump into the car, against my will, go purchase a bottle, bring it home. Against the will. It seems like, it's happening against the will. Arjuna is saying, it seems like somebody was there. And then other people will support that. Rantramu durani mayaya. Krishna says that. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishta. Krishna sits and gives me remembrance. So forgetfulness, he made me forget. So that's why. Hirdeteshe Arjun tishtati. I'm in your heart, in the area of your heart. Right? And Prakriti Kiramanani, Guna Karmani Sarvasa, it happens to Prakriti, which is mine. Right? So Devi hi eva gunamayi mama maya, it is my maya. So everything is happening because of me. So that's what it appears to us. And that is how we interpret his statements in the Bhagavad Gita incorrectly. But what exactly is it that impels me? And it says as if without my sanction. So this is how habits form. So you do one thing, bad habits form. You do one thing, you know that it is wrong, but you so badly want to do it that you do it. Then the guilt comes. If the guilt weighs stronger, then you get out of it. If the guilt is, suppressed, then the next time you will do it again, right? The guilt will be there. After doing it several times, the guilt will go away and you will think that this is the right thing to do. And this is how, when a child smokes a cigarette for the first time, he's scared of his parents, right? But 15 years later, it's a second habit, second nature to smoke, like that. So next verse, next week, Krishna's mercy, we'll talk about why are we impelled like that. So,
other than aiming for heaven, we should aim for lotus feet of Krishna.
Exactly. Yeah, because if we go to
heaven, we might come back.
We'll come back. Shire punya martha lokam vishanti. Shire means diminished. Punya, when your credits they are diminished. Martha lokam, this low where we are, you'll come back. Sutapa, is there a question coming from you?
Yes, Mataji, but it's too late. I'll remember and ask you in the next class.
No, you can ask me here. It's late for you, not for me. 7:30.
Yes, Mataji, that's why I'll leave. So I will ask it in the next class.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, keep on and push it. And Poonam Mataji, she's still with us. Yeah, Poonam, you wanted the question. You wanted the prayers that I did this morning, in the beginning, and they are there on my website nityasankirtan.com, and I have placed the link on the chat window to the prayers, and you can see them. They are listed as Mangalacharan prayers there. Okay. There you go. On that nice musical note, Sri Ranga, we'll call it a day. Vancha kalpatar Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Thank you, Shraddha Mataji.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji.
Sukamala Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
6:30 Sunday.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Nice to see everybody
Keep
after some
going.
time.
Pranams, Jai Prabhupada.
Thank you so much.